Imagine you've just conquered half the known world. You are the king of kings, ruler of the mighty Persian Empire. Standing before a massive map of your domain, stretching from Egypt to India, you feel absolutely invincible. You have treasuries overflowing with glittering gold and endless wealth pouring in from all corners of the globe. You command terrifying immortal warriors and wear a crown so heavy it literally gives you a mild neckache. But beneath all this glory, you have one massive, gritty, incredibly annoying problem to deal with. Sand. Lots and lots of sand. In fact, 90% of your imperial core is just an endless desert. The heart of the Persian Empire, known as the Iranian Plateau, is essentially a giant, high-altitude frying pan. It is an unforgiving landscape of jagged rocks, baked earth, and absolutely zero natural shade. This massive region receives less than 10 inches of rain a year, making it one of the driest places on Earth. During the brutal summer months, the scorching sun basically tries to assassinate everything moving on the ground. Even the mighty Persian king himself is constantly sweating, hopelessly trying to shake the hot sand out of his royal shoes. Here is the fundamental rule of history. If you want to build a global superpower, you need thriving, populated cities. To maintain those massive cities, you need successful farms. And to have successful farms, you desperately need water. But there are no massive, convenient rivers here like the Nile in Egypt or the Tigris in Babylon. Just dry, cracked dirt. So how did the ancient Persians build a lush empire here? They didn't pray for rain. They went underground. The Persians noticed something interesting. In the spring, snow melted on the tall mountain peaks and disappeared into the ground. Beneath the scorching desert's surface, deep at the foothills of the mountains, there were massive hidden aquifers. Oceans of sweet, cold, underground water. But how do you get it to your city, which is 20 miles away? You can't just carry it in buckets. That would take forever, and your royal bucket carriers would unionize. The Persian engineers came up with a brilliant, totally insane idea. They invented the Qanat. Step 1. Find a mountain. Step 2. Dig a massive vertical hole called the mother well straight down into the earth until you hit the water table. Sometimes, this well was 300 meters deep. That's like digging down the height of the Eiffel Tower with a copper pickaxe. Once you hit water, you celebrate briefly. Then, the real nightmare begins. Now that you've found the water, you have to guide it to your city. If you dig a tunnel straight across, the water won't move. Physics says no. If you dig a tunnel that's too steep, the water will rush down like a furious underground tsunami, eroding the dirt, collapsing the tunnel, and washing away your village. The Persians realized they needed the perfect slope. We are talking about a gradient of exactly 1 to 2 meters per kilometer. Without lasers, GPS, or modern surveying tools, Persian engineers used a simple plumb bob and string to calculate this microscopic angle over dozens of miles. It was a masterclass in ancient geometry. They had to dig a gently sloping underground channel from the mother well all the way to the city. Which brings us to the poor guys who actually had to do the digging. Enter the Muqannis, the underground tunnel diggers. This was arguably the most claustrophobic, dangerous job in the ancient world. A Muqanni would climb down a narrow shaft into the pitch-black earth. His only tools? A small pickaxe, a leather bag to haul dirt, and a small oil lamp. Oh, and if the lamp went out, it meant oxygen levels were dropping, and he was about to die. Fun! To prevent the tunnel from collapsing and crushing them into a human pancake, they used baked clay rings to reinforce the walls. And to get air down into the tunnel and pull the excavated dirt out, they dug vertical air shafts every 20 to 30 meters. If you fly over Iran today, you can still see these lines of holes stretching across the desert. They look like giant alien mole tracks. But actually, it's just ancient Persian plumbing. When the Qanat finally reached the surface near the city, It was magic. Crystal clear, freezing cold mountain water flowed out of the dry desert sand, 24/7, 365 days a year. It never evaporated because it was underground the whole time. This water-fed public baths, drinking fountains, and massive agricultural fields. The Persians were so thrilled with their water, they built spectacular walled gardens in the middle of the desert. They filled them with pomegranate trees, date palms, and blooming flowers. They called these lush, geometric gardens Pyridesa. When the Greeks and Romans saw them, they were so mind-blown that they borrowed the word. That is literally where we get the English word paradise. The Persians invented paradise using dirt and math. But wait, it gets better. The Persians didn't just use qanats for farming. They used them to invent air conditioning. Summers in Persia were brutally hot. So, architects built tall, chimney-like towers on top of their houses, called Badgirs, or Windcatchers. These towers caught the hot desert breeze and funneled it down into the house. But the real genius was connecting the Windcatcher directly to the underground Qanat. The hot air would flow down, hit the freezing cold Qanat water, cool down instantly, and circulate back up into the living rooms. While Romans were sweating in their togas, Persian nobles were chilling in their living rooms enjoying a cool 70-degree breeze. Because being cool wasn't enough, the Persians also wanted ice. In the desert, in July, they built massive, dome-shaped structures called Yakhchals. These domes had walls made of a special mortar containing sand, clay, egg whites, goat hair, and ash. It was incredibly insulating. During the freezing desert winters, they channeled water from the Qanat into shallow pools to freeze. They chopped up the ice, threw it into the Yakhchal dome, and sealed it. The shape of the dome, combined with the Qanat water flowing underneath, kept the inside so cold that the ice lasted all the way through the blazing summer. Yes, the king of Persia could literally eat shaved ice with fruit syrup while his enemies were dying of heat stroke. The Qanat system was the true secret weapon of the Persian Empire. It allowed them to build massive cities like Persepolis in the middle of nowhere and sustain vast armies in places where their enemies would simply die of thirst. The technology was so successful that it spread along the Silk Road to China and across North Africa all the way to Spain. Today, thousands of years later, there are still over 37,000 active Qanats in Iran, quietly delivering water through the dark earth, just as they did when Cyrus the Great ruled the world. Empires rise and fall, kings turn to dust, but a really good plumbing system? That lasts forever.